Commander Nathan Halley adjusted the collar of his clean white uniform and looked out the window of the shuttle. Below him was Varelli Prima world that shimmered like a dream. The forests glowed blue and purple under three suns, rivers sparkled like glass, and strange flying creatures moved in elegant patterns through the sky. Nathan had been to many planets before, but this one felt different. It wasn't just beautiful, it was quiet, peaceful. For the last 200 years, the Varelians had closed their borders to outsiders, no visitors, no messages, nothing, and now, suddenly, they had invited one human. Just one. Him. Nathan was a skilled diplomat. He had solved trade disputes on Mars, calmed tensions in the Europa colonies, and even convinced a giant rock-eating alien to return stolen mining equipment. That's why Earth's leaders had chosen him. They believed he was the right person to build peace with the Varelians. Nathan wasn't so sure. The shuttle landed on a soft, glowing platform. A group of tall, elegant beings waited for him. Their skin shimmered like stars, and their long limbs moved like dancers. They had large, bright eyes and gentle smiles. Each wore a sash made of flowing, silk-like threads that changed color with every breath. As Nathan stepped out, the Varelians began to hum. The sound was deep and soft, like a lullaby. They threw flower-like objects into the air. Some floated, some burst into light, and others turned into little birds that flew away. "Commander Nathan Halley of Earth," said a female voice through his translator. "We welcome you to Varelli Prime. The harmony begins." Nathan bowed politely. "Thank you for your warm welcome. I'm honored to be here." The tallest Varelian stepped forward. Their skin glowed silver, and they wore a large crown made of living vines. "I am Shirala, voice of Varelli. Come, we shall begin the ceremony." Nathan smiled, though a small part of him felt confused. Ceremony? He had prepared for a peace treaty, a formal meeting, perhaps a meal, and a signed agreement. But this already felt different. As they walked, music played from hidden places. The path glowed with soft lights, and plants opened like fans as he passed. Children danced beside him, tossing petals into the air. Shirala spoke softly. "We are so pleased you answered our call. The harmony is nearly complete. The union must now begin." Nathan blinked. "The union?" "Yes," Shirala said, smiling. "You were chosen carefully. Your body, your mind, your heart, all perfect. For what is to come?" Nathan's steps slowed. What exactly is to come? But Shirala only gave a soft laugh and said, "You will see." They reached a tall, open structure made of crystal pillars. Inside, a large table was filled with fruit, glowing drinks, and soft cushions to sit on. The scent of sweet spices filled the air. Nathan sat down, still smiling, but now carefully watching everything. Something felt off. Not dangerous, just strange. Across the table, another Varelian leaned close and whispered, "You are very graceful for a Terran. Your eyes are strong. This is a good sign." Nathan tried not to look confused. "Thank you." Shirala stood and raised a glass. "Let us toast the union. May our worlds come together as one." Everyone cheered. Nathan raised his glass too, but inside, alarms were starting to ring in his head. He leaned toward his translator device, a small earpiece hidden behind his hair. "Betty," he whispered, "run a quick scan of this gathering. Cross-check any cultural notes on Varelians." The ship's AI replied in a calm voice, "Scanning now." "Commander, are you aware that the Varelians have known tradition of peace treaties?" Nathan frowned. "What do you mean?" "There are no records of Varelians using the word treaty. The message they sent used the phrase bond of harmony, which you interpreted as a peace agreement. But there is another possible meaning." Nathan's heart skipped a beat. "Explain." "In Varelian culture," Betty continued, "a bond of harmony is a sacred ritual, a kind of joining, most often used during their highest form of courtship." Nathan dropped his glass. Everyone turned to look at him. He gave a nervous laugh and picked it up quickly. "Sorry, Earth gravity reflex." But inside he was thinking only one thing. This isn't a peace treaty. It's a mating ritual. And I'm the guest of honor. Commander Nathan Halley sat stiffly on the soft cushion as glowing Varelians clapped. hummed, and shared sweet drinks. They smiled at him with wide, kind eyes. The celebration was full of joy. But Nathan didn't feel joyful at all. He was trying not to panic. His AI assistant, Betty, had just told him the truth. He wasn't here for a peace treaty. This entire event was not political, it was personal. Deeply personal. Nathan took a sip of the glowing fruit juice to calm himself. It tasted like mint and honey. He leaned his head slightly and whispered into his earpiece. Betty, confirm again, this bond of harmony? It's really not diplomatic, Betty replied in her usual calm tone. Confirmed. Based on all records and language patterns, the phrase refers to a high ceremonial union. It's close to marriage, but in Varelian culture it means deep connection, usually involving reproduction. Nathan nearly choked. That's impossible. I didn't agree to anything like that, Betty answered gently. You responded to the invitation. With the phrase humanity accepts your offer of peace and unity, that could be understood as a yes. Nathan rubbed his forehead. Oh no, I thought I was being diplomatic. You were being romantic, Betty said. Nathan looked around. The Varelians were still enjoying the ceremony. One of them, tall, silver blue, with bright purple eyes, approached him holding a glowing scarf. They draped it around his shoulders with care and gave him a sweet smile. You look ready, the Varelian said softly. Ready for what? Nathan asked. The Varelian tilted their head. The choosing. It begins tomorrow. You'll meet all the candidates. Nathan tried to stay calm. Candidates? Yes, the Varelian said, clearly happy. You must choose your match, or perhaps several if your heart allows. Nathan stared at them. I think there's been a misunderstanding. The Varelian smiled kindly. There is no misunderstanding. The harmony guides us. They walked away, humming. Nathan quickly whispered, Betty, get me an emergency call with Earth. There's a 7-hour delay due to distance, Betty replied. Even with compression. Great, Nathan muttered. By the time they reply, I might be married to half the planet. He stood up and quietly walked to the edge of the platform. Below, soft lights glowed through the crystal trees. In the distance, he could hear the sound of singing rivers and wind chimes made from living branches. It was peaceful, beautiful, confusing. He needed to find a way out of this, without offending anyone. The Varelians had waited 200 years to speak to humans again. If Nathan made a mistake, it could push them back into silence forever. A small voice interrupted his thoughts. Are you afraid? It was a young Varelian child holding a glowing flower. Nathan smiled kindly. A little. Why? Well, Nathan said, kneeling down to speak at the child's level. I came here to sign papers and shake hands. Now I think I'm here for something bigger, the child nodded. Joining is big, but you're special. That's why the harmony chose you, Nathan blinked. Why am I special? The child thought for a moment. Because you didn't run away. Nathan smiled again, this time more gently. No, I didn't. Later that night, Nathan returned to his temporary room, a beautiful space filled with soft pillows, glowing walls, and calming music that played from the air itself. He sat down and looked out the window at the stars. Betty spoke again. Commander, I have a suggestion. Go on. Instead of rejecting their offer, perhaps you could ask for time, show respect. Learn more about their customs. Use the misunderstanding to build trust. You want me to play along? Nathan asked. Not play, Betty said. Participate carefully. It may help open communication between our worlds. Nathan nodded slowly. It wasn't a bad idea. If he could learn their ways, maybe he could gently explain the mistake. And maybe turn this into a real agreement. Both sides understood. He stood and looked at his reflection in the crystal mirror. This might be the weirdest mission I've ever had, he said. Betty replied, It's also the most important. Nathan took a deep breath. All right then. Tomorrow I meet the candidates. He paused. And Betty? Yes, Commander. Please prepare a list of polite ways to say, I'm flattered, but I'm not ready for space marriage. Commander Nathan Hale stood in front of a mirror made of living crystal vines. His white uniform now had colorful ribbons and tiny bells tied to it. A Varelian stylist had carefully added them this morning. It is the way of choosing, they had said. You must look open-hearted. Nathan wasn't sure what that meant, but he smiled and thanked them anyway. Today was the day. The day he would meet the candidates. He still wasn't sure how to handle the whole situation. He hadn't come to Vareli Prime looking for love or anything close to it. But the Varelians had chosen him for something important, and he didn't want to insult them. His AI, Betty, had told him to stay calm, observe everything, and use this chance to learn. So that's what he planned to do. At sunrise, soft music played from the trees. It was time. Nathan was led to a wide platform that floated in the air above a glowing lake. Dozens of Varelians were waiting, tall, graceful, shining with soft light. Some wore flowers in their hair. Others held small gifts. These are the chosen, Shirala said, stepping beside him. Each one hopes to be your match. Nathan gave a polite nod, his diplomatic smile in place. It is a great honor to meet you all. A drumbeat started somewhere in the distance. The platform slowly turned in a circle as the ceremony began. One by one, the Varelian candidates stepped forward. The first sang a song with no words, just soft notes that floated into Nathan's mind like dreams. The second gave him a glowing stone that hummed gently in his hand. The third performed a slow, flowing dance that told a story of the stars and planets meeting. Nathan watched each one, amazed. These weren't just performances, they were expressions of connection, deep and thoughtful. Then came the fourth candidate, who looked nervous. They stepped forward and handed Nathan a simple drawing, two figures, one human, one Varelian, holding hands under a tree. I don't have much talent, they said shyly, but I wanted to show what I hope. Nathan smiled. It's beautiful, thank you. The platform continued to spin. The ceremony went on for hours, but Nathan didn't feel tired. Instead, he felt curious. These Varelians were different from what he had expected. They weren't just intelligent, they were emotional, creative, and sincere. After the last candidate finished, Shirala spoke again. You may now ask questions, she said. Learn, listen, feel. The harmony grows through understanding. Nathan nodded. I'd like that. For the rest of the day, Nathan sat with small groups of Varelians, talking, laughing, and asking questions. They shared stories of their world, how their forests sang to help the sick, how their cities floated above the oceans, how their children learned from the wind and sky. In return, Nathan told them about Earth. He spoke of rain on windows, children playing in the snow, music played on old guitars, and the way people on Earth sometimes cried during movies. The Varelians listened with wide eyes, fascinated. You feel so deeply, one said. Nathan chuckled. We're good at that. You have pain but still hope. That's kind of the human way, he replied. By the time the sun set, Nathan was no longer afraid. He wasn't here just because of a mistake. He was here because the Varelians wanted to understand humanity. And somehow they had decided. He was the bridge between their world and his that night. As Nathan walked back to his room, Betty spoke in his ear. You made a strong impression today. Nathan smiled. So did they. Would you like me to begin drafting a cultural report? Yes, he said, then paused. Title it, Harmony Through Honesty, Notes from a Surprising Courtship. Betty paused before replying. You're taking this well, Commander. I'm still not planning to get married to anyone, Nathan said with a laugh. But I'm starting to understand what they meant by harmony. He stopped to watch a glowing bird land on a branch. It sang a soft note, and the tree sang back. Maybe this mission wasn't about treaties or documents, maybe it was about something deeper, building trust through something as simple and powerful as being open. The next morning on Vareli Prime was quiet. Not silent in a lonely way, but soft like a deep breath before a song begins. The sky was a pale green, and 3 suns peeked over the hills, casting a soft golden glow. Commander Nathan Hale walked along a floating pathway made of smooth crystal stones. The path led through a garden where the flowers opened as he passed, releasing tiny puffs of glowing mist. It was peaceful, but Nathan's mind was busy. He had met the Varelian candidates, listened to their stories, and shared some of his own. Each one had been kind, curious, and genuine. And although Nathan had come here by accident thinking it was a peace treaty, not a mating ritual, he was starting to understand why this all mattered so much to them. Still, he hadn't made a choice. And now, the Varelians were waiting. He turned a corner and found Shirala, the voice of Vareli, waiting beside a glowing tree. The tree's roots floated above the ground, gently pulsing with light. "You seem thoughtful," Shirala said with a kind smile. "I am," Nathan replied. "I've seen so much, and everyone's been so generous. But I don't know how to choose. I'm not even sure I should." Shirala nodded. "You speak honestly. That is rare." Nathan looked up at the tree. "What is this place?" "This is the Grove of Stillness," Shirala explained. "It is where we come when words are not enough." Nathan raised an eyebrow. "A quiet place to think?" "Not only think," she said, "to listen. Sometimes silence says what the heart cannot." Nathan followed Shirala into the grove. The leaves whispered as wind passed through, but the space felt calm, safe. A few Varelians were seated nearby, eyes closed, their hands resting on their hearts. Shirala motioned for Nathan to sit on a smooth stone bench. He sat, feeling the gentle vibration of the earth beneath him. The stone was warm. "Close your eyes," Shirala said. Nathan hesitated, then obeyed. For a long moment he said nothing. He only listened. He heard the hum of the trees, the distant songs of birds, and the gentle breath of the wind. But beyond that, he felt something else, something inside himself, a soft feeling of connection. Not to one person, but to all of it? This world, its people, and even the quiet hope that had brought him here. After a while, Shirala spoke again. "You are not required to choose." Nathan opened his eyes. "What?" "We know this union is not your custom," she said gently. "We did not invite you to force a bond. We invited you to share in harmony and perhaps bring your own kind of joining." Nathan felt a small weight lift from his shoulders. "All this time," he said, "I thought I was expected to marry someone, that I had to make a big decision." "You already made one," Shirala replied. "You came. You stayed. You listened. That was the first harmony." Nathan smiled. "So, I don't have to choose a partner?" "You may choose many things," Shirala said. "A friend, a teacher, a dream, a future. What you call it doesn't matter. What matters is that it is true." Nathan leaned back on the bench. "That's, actually kind of beautiful." They sat in silence for a while longer, then Shirala stood and offered Nathan a folded cloth deep blue with threads of silver. "This is our gift," she said. "It marks the guest who listened well. Wear it when you return to your people." Nathan took the cloth and nodded. "Thank you. I'll wear it with respect." That evening, the sky turned golden orange, and the Varelians held a small feast. Under the stars, there was music, dancing, and laughter. No pressure, no expectations. Just joy. Nathan sat among them, drinking a sparkling tea made from starlight flowers. One of the candidates from before, the shy one who had drawn the picture, sat beside him. "You're leaving soon?" they asked. "In a few days," Nathan said. "I'm glad I met you." "I'm glad I met you too." There were no more misunderstandings between them. Just peace. As the night went on, Nathan found himself smiling, laughing, even joining a dance. He didn't need to choose anyone, but somehow he had found something deeper than a treaty. He had found connection. Commander Nathan Hale stood on the balcony of his guest room, looking out over the glowing forests of Vareli Prime. It was his 6th night on the alien world, and for the first time he didn't feel like a stranger. The stars above were unfamiliar but beautiful. The trees below whispered softly, sharing the sounds of the wind and laughter from the celebration still going on in the city below. Nathan tapped his earpiece. "Betty, are the communications back online?" the AI responded calmly. "Yes, Commander. The long-range signal relay is now active. You may send your message to Earth." Nathan nodded slowly. "Good. I think I'm ready." He stepped back inside and sat at the curved desk made of polished smooth stone and glowing vines. A small blue crystal lit up in front of him. It was a Varelian recording device, gifted to him earlier that day. "Betty," he said, "start recording." A soft beep confirmed it had begun. Nathan took a breath and looked into the crystal's lens. His face reflected in its surface, calm, focused, and thoughtful. "This is Commander Nathan Hale, speaking from Vareli Prime," he began. "First, I want to make it clear I'm safe. There is no danger here. What happened was unexpected but not hostile." He paused. "When I arrived, I believed I was here to sign a peace treaty. What I didn't understand at the time was that the Varelians had something very different in mind. Their idea of peace is not based on paper and signatures, it's based on emotional connection, respect, and what they call harmony." He leaned forward slightly, voice steady. "In their culture, when they truly wish to form a lasting bond with another people, they invite someone to take part in what they call the choosing. It's not exactly marriage, it's more like offering their hearts in trust, hoping to be understood." Nathan gave a small smile. "At first, I was confused. I thought it was a mistake, maybe even dangerous. But after spending days with the Varelians, listening to their stories, sharing ours, and seeing how deeply they value life, I realized this was not a mistake. It was a gift." He stood up and walked slowly across the room, camera following him. "They didn't want a trade deal. They didn't want weapons or technology. They wanted something rarer. They wanted someone to understand them, and to let them understand us." He picked up the blue cloth Shirala had given him, the one that marked him as the guest who listened well. "They chose me," he said softly. "Not because I'm important, but because I said yes. I answered a message they sent 200 years ago, and that one small answer opened a door." Nathan looked out the window again. "We always talk about finding life in the stars. We ask, will they be friendly? Will they attack? Will they even notice us? What we rarely ask is, are we ready to listen?" He turned back to the camera. "Earth Command, I recommend that we move forward with open talks, not with just diplomats, but artists, teachers, and listeners. People who can learn and share. The Varelians don't want power, they want harmony. And I think we have much to gain by meeting them where they are." He paused, thinking of the faces he had met, the dancer, the singer, the quiet one with the drawing. People so different, yet so familiar in their hopes. Nathan ended with a quiet but strong voice. "We came looking for peace, and somehow I think we found something even better." "End message," he said. The recording ended. The crystal pulsed once and went dark. Later that evening, Nathan walked through the city gardens. Lights floated in the air like fireflies. The music of the trees played gently all around him. He found himself beside the same small lake where he had first arrived. The water glowed under the moons. Across the lake he saw some of the Varelians talking and laughing. One waved to him. He waved back. Someone stepped beside him. It was the quiet Varelian who had given him the drawing. "I heard your message," they said. "It was kind." "I meant every word," Nathan replied. "You're going back soon?" "Yes, my people will have questions. I want to help answer them the right way." The Varelian looked up at the stars. "Will they understand us?" "I think," Nathan said, "they'll try." And that's where it begins. The two stood in silence, just listening to the wind. And for the first time since he'd landed on Vareli Prime, Nathan didn't feel like he was on an alien world. He felt like he was home, back on Earth in the heart of the United Nations space. Council building. Large screens showed the image of Commander Nathan Hale standing beside the glowing trees of Vareli Prime. His calm voice echoed in the room as leaders, scientists, and diplomats watched his recorded message. When it ended, the room stayed quiet. Admiral Jones, a stern man with silver hair, stood up first. "So, it wasn't a peace treaty after all. It was something deeper." A young diplomat from Asia nodded. "They wanted a connection, not control. That's rare." Across the room, people began whispering, discussing Nathan's words. He said they don't want technology. They want understanding. They invited him into their culture, and he accepted. Within minutes, the quiet room turned into a storm of ideas. Some were excited. Some were doubtful. But one thing was clear: the galaxy had changed. And Earth was part of something new. 3 days later, Nathan stood near his shuttle, saying his final goodbyes on Varelli Prime. The air was sweet with flower scents, and soft lights drifted through the trees. Dozens of Varelians had gathered to see him off. Many held small gifts, crystals, hand-woven cloths, glowing seeds. Nathan felt overwhelmed. "I don't know what to say." Shirala stepped forward and placed a hand over her heart. "Say only what is true." Nathan nodded, then turned to the crowd. "Thank you all for your kindness, your patience, and your trust. When I first arrived, I was confused and worried, but now I feel honored to have met you." The quiet Varelian who had once drawn him a picture walked up and handed him another one. It showed a ship half human, half Varelian flying together. "Among stars for your next journey," they said. Nathan smiled warmly. "I'll keep it safe." As the shuttle powered on, Nathan took one last look at the glowing forests, the tall trees, and the peaceful people waving goodbye. He raised his hand. "I'll come back," he said. "Not alone next time." And then, with a gentle hum, the shuttle lifted into the sky. Days later, Nathan arrived at Earth's main orbital station. The air smelled of metal and recycled oxygen. The stars outside looked the same, but Nathan felt different. He was met by Admiral Jones and a small welcome team. "Commander Halle," the Admiral greeted him. "Welcome home. You've caused quite a stir down here." Nathan smiled. "Good. It's time we were stirred." Jones motioned for him to walk. "The Council wants to talk. Not just about your experience, but about what comes next." Nathan walked beside him, boots clicking on the floor. "I have a proposal," Nathan said. "We send a new team to Varelli? Prime, not just military or political, artists, scientists, listeners, people who are ready to share and learn?" The Admiral raised an eyebrow. "You think they'll accept a full delegation?" Nathan nodded. "If we go with honest hearts, yes. They value truth more than power." Jones paused at a large window, looking out at the curve of Earth. "We've been preparing for war or trade. But this is something else. It's a chance to grow," Nathan said quietly. "Together." Weeks passed, and Earth's people watched the news with wide eyes. Commander's message sparks global interest. First alien contact leads to cultural exchange. Humanity invited to intergalactic harmony. Schools began teaching about Varelian culture. Musicians wrote songs inspired by the sounds of Varelian trees. Artists painted the glowing forests and floating cities. And from every country, people applied to join the first Harmony mission, a peaceful voyage of humans chosen not for their rank, but for their hearts, their minds, and their ability to connect. Nathan was placed in charge of the team. He stood in the hangar of the Harmony-class ship, watching as it was prepared. The hull was a blend of human steel and Varelian crystalla, symbol of the new bond. Betty, his AI, spoke in his ear. "You've started something bigger than you expected, Commander." Nathan smiled. "Yeah, but it's not about me, it's about us." He looked at his new team, diverse, curious, full of hope. Among them were writers, engineers, healers, and even children. They were all ready to take the next step. One young girl waved up at Nathan. "Will we really meet them?" He bent down and smiled. "Yes, and they're just as excited to meet you." The engines rumbled softly. The ship was ready. Nathan took a deep breath. This time he wasn't confused. He wasn't alone. He was exactly where he needed to be. The Harmony-class ship glided smoothly through space, leaving Earth behind and heading toward Varelli Prime. It was no longer just a ship, it was a symbol of something new. Commander Nathan. Halle stood on the bridge, watching the stars stretch across the wide glass window. The crew behind him worked quietly but with excitement in their eyes. They were scientists, teachers, musicians, and dreamers. They had trained for weeks, not to fight or conquer, but to connect. Nathan smiled. This was the mission he had always wanted, even if he didn't know it until now. Beside him stood Yara, a botanist from Brazil. She had brought a collection of earth seeds to share with the Varelians. "Do you think their soil will support our plants?" she asked. Nathan shrugged. "Gently. Maybe, but I think they're more interested in the stories behind them, Yara laughed. Then I brought the right ones. In the corner, a boy named Leo, only 12 years old, looked out the window in wonder. He was chosen not for his skills, but for his curiosity. He reminded Nathan of the future. A future full of questions, not fear. 2 days later, the ship approached. Virelli Prime, the green and gold planet spun slowly in the dark sky, glowing with soft light. The forest shimmered and the oceans sparkled like mirrors. The crew stared in silence. Some held hands. Others wiped their eyes. "It's more beautiful than I imagined," said Myra, a composer from India. Nathan nodded. "Wait until you hear the music of their trees." They landed gently in a wide field near the capital city. Floating towers welcomed them, and the air shimmered with the sound of peaceful instruments. A crowd of Varelians stood nearby, dressed in soft colors, smiling with joy. Shirala, the voice of Virelli, stepped forward. "Welcome, guests of Earth," she said warmly. "We receive you in harmony." Nathan stepped down the ramp, holding a small earth flag and a seedling of a rose. "We come in peace and respect," Shirala bowed. "Then we meet as equals." For the next 10 days, the humans and Varelians shared everything. Yara planted her seeds in a garden shaped like a spiral. The Varelians added glowing stones that helped the plants grow with light instead of heat. Together they watched the first earth flower bloom under alien stars. Mira listened to the sound of Varelian trees and turned them into a song. The Varelians joined her with their soft instruments, creating a melody that spoke without words. It became the song of meeting played across both worlds in the months to come. Leo, the young boy, joined Varelian children in painting the sky with glowing kites. He taught them how to skip stones on water, and they taught him how to float. Leaves on wind currents, each day was full of laughter, learning, and wonder. One evening, Nathan sat with Shirala by a quiet lake. The water glowed softly, and the sky was painted in 3 shades of sunset. "You've brought good people," Shirala said. "They chose themselves," Nathan replied. "They believed in this." Shirala looked thoughtful. "Your people are still young in the stars, but you carry something powerful." "What's that?" Nathan asked. "Hope. Even when you're afraid, you still hope. That is a strong light." Nathan smiled. "And your people have patience. That's something we need to learn." The two sat in silence, just listening to the wind. After a while, Shirala spoke again. "This is only the beginning." "Yes," Nathan agreed. "The real journey starts." Now, before returning to Earth, the crew of the Harmony mission gathered for a final celebration. The Varelians presented each of them with a crystal marked with a unique pattern representing the part of harmony they had shared. Nathan's crystal glowed blue and gold, the colors of listening and leadership. Leo's crystal was bright green and white curiosity and joy. Yara's crystal was soft orange and silver growth and care. Each person felt honored, not for what they brought, but for how they connected. As they boarded the ship to return home, many had tears in their eyes. "Not of sadness, but of gratitude. We'll come back," Nathan promised. "Not just us, many more," Shirala smiled. "We will be waiting." Back on Earth, the news of the first Harmony mission changed everything. Countries stopped arguing about borders and started talking about partnerships. People began sharing stories, art, and ideas from the Varelians. Schools added new subjects: harmony studies, emotional listening, and galactic culture. Nathan was invited to speak at the United Nations. He stood before leaders from every country, wearing the blue and gold cloth of Virelli Prime. "We once believed the stars were full of danger," he said. "But now we know they are full of possibilities. Peace is not found in power. It is found in understanding." The room stood and clapped, not just for him, but for a new future, a future where peace was not a dream, but a choice.